Hello, it's me, Peachy again, and today's month is April, or at least it's April when I'm recording this, which, if you didn't know, is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Yeah, I don't blame you if you didn't know that either. But on topic, I've actually had to rewrite this since it was going to be posted last year, but I never made it in time. But also this video is gonna be very personal and triggering for some people. Here are the warnings on the screen. If this is triggering for you, please click off this video. So we're just gonna get to the personal stuff right out the gate. I want to start with sharing my own story. I finally feel ready to share it. I must also warn you that I was pretty young when it happened, so I don't really remember a ton of details. You can skip to the time frame on the screen too if you don't want to really hear my story, but I would really appreciate it if you did. But when I was younger, about 5 years old, we had moved into a house where I would be living with my relatives, and that's where I met my cousin. He was much older than me, probably in his late middle school or early high school ages. And back then, I am and was still kind of quiet. I had no friends and I mainly stayed home. And I'm guessing that's why he thought of me as the perfect target. I don't remember the first time, but I do remember him coming down to help him with something. I don't know what. I was always taught to respect my elders and respect people older than me and my relatives. So I went down to help, and he took off my shorts in a private room, and yeah, he touched me. I won't go into more detail other than that because that's not really a part I want to share on here. And it didn't go, if any of you are wondering, it didn't go any further than that. Thankfully, nothing further happened. It did happen a couple more times. I don't remember how many, but I do specifically one where we were in the living room. And the only reason he stopped was because one of my aunts caught him doing it. And nothing happened though. No charges, no lecture, no nothing. He just stopped. And for the rest of my kindergarten years, I had to stay with him because we stayed at their house and we didn't have my current living situation right now. Thankfully though, he never hung around me, so yeah. And I think he's in the army now. I don't know where, but he's out there. And the sad thing is I still cannot forgive him. He ruined my sense of safety. I struggled for a long time knowing what love was, especially romantic love, and I am hypersexual because of him. Yeah, but I am truly trying to get better, but again, with my home life, if you know me, it's not really the greatest. I cannot get therapy just yet, but I am planning on getting therapy. It's just gonna take me a while to find the right help. And that's where my life stands. I never really told my parents until recently, and they haven't done anything. But I think they ignored it. Yeah. I don't think it's good that sometimes the people who did bad things get more freedom than the victims. But now I want to just talk about the AU that came from this trauma. It's called Behind Closed Doors. And I'm going to try to give like a little bit of a rundown without exposing too much of the story. So, in this AU, Jake Sterling, a character from The Music Face, if you guys didn't know, basically goes through my trauma. but unlike me, at least for now, has to interact with his abuser as they stay in his home, and he has to choose whether to stay silent and allow this monster to hurt another, or tell people and risk not being believed, or tell one person and let this die. And this AU does have a pilot of some sort on my Instagram page and my YouTube. And I want to talk about it since it was the first ever rendition of the story. And I want to tell you about what I've changed, because I changed a lot of the story. But a small rant here. A few people commented that they couldn't take it seriously because of the music choice. If you go back and listen to it, you'll know what I'm talking about, but I have to say that it's so hurtful that you can't take it seriously because of the music. It is based on my own traumatic experiences and is based on a very serious topic, yet you couldn't take it seriously because of the music. And to defend myself, the only reason I used those music was because that was the only music I had recorded on my phone at the time it was made. I am still somewhat sad that those people couldn't take it seriously, but if their comments are still there, they're mainly on my Instagram page, please don't harass them. It doesn't make them take it seriously. I honestly believe that they could have muted the audio, since the first one without voice lines doesn't really have any other audio. Nowadays, I just have more music I could use, yet they just don't feel right. So maybe I'll go look for music that does fit, or make my own. Okay, rant over. I don't really want to rant about it anymore. On to the actual topic of the pilot. In the full series, there are going to be huge changes, such as Jake not going to be abused until middle school. I know this is a big change, but it's a personal one I want to make. As I stated in my own story, I was abused until when I was around 5 to 6 years old, but nothing else happened beyond that. Instead, to fill in the gap, it'll be how Jake coped and processed his trauma of that day, leading up until the current timeline the AU takes place in. And basically, I just want this AU to have my own experience instead of having ones I don't have. I'm sorry if this will disappoint you, but I want my story to be told so others can share their own. One thing I will have to change is how the main design of Jake's abuser, who I had named A, is gonna look, how they're gonna be written. And firstly, I'm going to change the design. I want to explain that they were designs like that because I didn't want to humanize A in any way. I wanted A to not look human because that's how I saw abusers. So A didn't have a skin color, no eyes, no nose, no hair color, no nothing. And A didn't even have a gender or personality until much later. That's how badly I wanted to make A not a human. But the main reason I wanted to change that is because I realized how hard it was to write A like that. There was literally nothing that I could do to make A work being written like that. A was literally just Jake's abuser, and I quickly grew bored of that. Yes, I know it could work, but I couldn't find a way to make A work with how I write characters. And I played around with giving A a redesign, specifically a more human-looking design, and I came up with two. And I'm going to show up the beta for the current design that I chose. And this is the beta. It's old, but you'll have to wait and see what A actually looks like. And the real reason I wanted to change it is because you can humanize your abusers. They can not be abusers. They can be good people to others, but still have that bad action. So it feels like it's more complex that way. And I should also state the relationship with Jake. As I stated in the original pilot, they were just a relative and nothing more specific and really vague. So I decided to make A Jake's cousin, which makes Jake and A gender-swapped version of me and my own abuser. And A actually has a gender and a real name now. As for their gender, A is a woman. As for her name, I want to reveal that later. I do think I want to talk about Jake's reactions to being touched, which, yes, I do believe were a bit extreme without the context. It makes Jake look like a jerk, because why is bro shoving Millie and punching Henry in the nose? That part was based on my own thoughts of, if I hit people who touch me, I won't be hurt again. That is not a good coping mechanism. I do think I will still keep that part because I don't know, it leads up until the one part with Jake and Xander. So, and that's the one thing about the pilot I want to keep. As for the major story, it'll just follow Jake as he has to move on with reliving his trauma with A back in his house and worrying for his family. Also shown in the pilot, the first person he will open up to is Xander, and it'll stay like that, like I stated. Originally, it was going to be Sean because I love Gene, but I chose Xander mainly because I didn't have him do much yet, and honestly, I didn't really like him, but after this AU, I got into his lore, and now he's one of my favorites. So, yay. The story might be a bit slow, but it's mainly because I want to develop the relationships and slowly reveal more of A and Jake's relationship in the story, along with Jake opening about it to more people. So yes, the story might be slow as hell, but I like it. I like it like that. And that's it. That's all I want to say about this certain AU and part of my life. If you have any questions about my story or the AU, please ask them. I'm perfectly willing to answer them. And please be respectful in the comments. If someone decides to share their story, just listen. But yeah, that's all. Thank you guys for watching.